important part. If a protein wants to be functional, the protein should be synthesized in a proper, in a precise manner. So then only it will be what you call a functional one. Otherwise, to just imagine when the protein is holding something, and there will be a problem in a three-dimensional space. So that leads to lots of issues in the what you call in the functional pattern of that protein. Otherwise, that protein will lose its structure and the protein will lose its function. That may be a liability for the cell than the functional one. So in order to avoid that one, so decoding a information properly, what is found in a gene to RNA, from RNA to protein is a very, very important process. And our cell does that when in an appropriate way. That's the thing we have to look after. The thing is, all the time and each and every day the things are happening in the body, and some are birth till our death. The things are happening in such a accurate and precise manner, so that entire information is properly coded in the protein. So those protein can be functional only if it is produced in the proper format. So this genetic code is so important. And all the cracking, that means the cracking code is started in the after 1953. That means 1953. First, the DNA studies are in the proper structure of DNA we got. From 1953, people start thinking about something else. That means only whether we have only the gene, from a gene something is happening. Then they propose what we call central dogma. All those lots of thinking were happening, and people start experimenting, and people start doing some chemical, physical, and all those analysis, and finally they come out the idea of what we call genetic code. Genetic code, what we present, is not the simple what you call one man sat somewhere and done some analysis. Are not like that. Many people are involved in this one. Lots of assumptions were done initially. Then lots of experiments they created. Some synthetic material, synthetic technology they used initially. But that time it was a big issue. I mean, cracking genetic code was a great thing in 1980s. But today, if you think cracking genetic code is a funny thing, no need of doing all those things what they have done during the time. Now directly you can go for a protein sequencing. So machines are there. Technology is available in 2020. But that was not available during 1980. So that time, each step, each chemical analysis, what they were doing, it had a lots of importance, and that's why they were all awarded with a Nobel Prize. Today, if you do a protein sequencing, no one will give us a Nobel Prize or a great importance in the field of science. But because it is going to be like it's a normal routine scientific analysis. So today, protein sequencing is a routine analysis. But in 1980, it was a great achievement. It was a path-breaking discovery. It was an eye-opening for many who are looking for how a gene expression will happen in the cell. So that's why the genetic code cracking was so important. But that gave us some idea. So from there, people start developing machines and technologies. And now today we know, like artificial intelligence, how easy use the technology to decode many informations in human beings, or maybe in infectious agents or anything. So this genetic code is a very simple topic. We should remember what it is. When we talk about genetic code, we let us know the definition of the genetic code. That's very important. Because when we write for exams, we have to write what is genetic code. So then we should know. So the genetic code is a set of rules by which a linear sequence of nucleotides specify the linear sequence of a polypeptide. This is a perfect definition for that. So genetic code is a set of rules, or as a set of sequences, I could say a set of sequences, which it's found in a linear format, which specify what kind of polypeptide or what kind of protein should be synthesized, or what kind of amino acid should be there. So we are putting it in a very simple format. So genetic code is a some sequences. So those sequences will tell the machinery. So this is the amino acid. So if this is all the sequences, finally this should be the protein. And if you decode that protein, these are all the amino acids. So each sequence of nucleotide will tell this is the protein. So that's what the thing initially they had idea. So set up of rules by which a linear sequence of a nucleotide specifies the linear sequence of polypeptides. Only that much. And genetic code consists of around 64 different codons. That's the important thing. It consists of around 64 different codons, and there are 20 amino acids. This is all what I'm telling is a little old story. So today the things are changed, lots of changes have happened, but the basic informations are accurate and it is precise and it is correct too. In the present condition in 2020 also it is correct. So we discuss that one first and then we will think about later, because today 22, 23 amino acid people are telling. Now earlier there was a 20. So that's why they put forward these rules and lots of modification later that they have done. This is not a one-time one, or this is not a one-time postulates or maybe hypothesis. This is the combination of many hypotheses. This is the combination of many scientific work. So genetic code concept, what the maximum they're telling, there are 64 codons. Codons means the sequence of amino acids in the RNA, and each codes for one of the 20 amino acids. So Gamow is the one who gave some kind of idea. He told that there will be maximum possibility of 64, and which we can code for maximum 24 amino acids. So how it codes, why it codes, and all those things we will study later. And what is the nature of these codes and all those things. So you should remember one thing. So code is a set of rules which is found in the linear format, which specify the sequence of polypeptide. That's the one thing. And genetic code consists of a maximum of 64 different codons. Codons means the sequence of nucleotides in the RNA. That is specifically mRNA. Each of which codes for one of the 20 amino acids. So there are maximum, there are 20 amino acids. Today it is 22, so the variation will happen. So we will discuss all those things later. So, but the thing is that basically there are 20 amino acids, and they are telling maximum 64 are enough to code for this. So we will see how it is enough and all those things. So the important thing we should remember is there are characteristics for this course. It's a very simple thing, and I hope most of you may be knowing about it. So these characteristics are like, it's a triplet nature. That means codons should be in a triplet format. That means there should be only three nucleotides. That means AAC or AUG or GUC, like a 3-3 sequence. Adenine, guanine, cytosine. If you have AGC, you just imagine. Adenine, guanine, cytosine. That means the triplet nature. And then they say non-overlapping. That means it is continuous. There is no overlapping. That means one code is not overlapping another. So that I'll explain later with the slide, with the slides. Then chromaless. Chromaless, what they say is there is no gap. Then they say degeneracy. That means one amino acid is coded by more than one codons. So that's what you call degeneracy. Then there is a non-ambiguity. Non-ambiguity means one nucleotide, one sequence will code for only one amino acids. That means one codon will code for one amino acid. It won't code for more than one amino acids. But one amino acid is coded by more codons. So next is universality. That means they thought initially it's almost a universal phenomenon. It will happen in human, it will happen in yeast, it will happen in what you call virus, or maybe what you call in bacteria, or maybe even mammoths, even older animals might have happened like that. They thought like that. It's a universal phenomenon. But now the things are changing now because evolutionary things they have done. Earlier what was there, now what is there, and what is in higher organism, what is lower eukaryotes, what happens in higher eukaryotes, what is the changes in bacteria, what is the changes in virus. Lots of changes have happened later. And we have our own ecosystem, our own cellular system inside our cells. That means there is a mitochondria. Mitochondria, initially, there is a theory says endosymbiosis, which says that a mitochondria is a bacteria, a kind of bacteria, which might have entered into our system during the course of evolution from maybe 5,000, 10,000 or 20,000 years ago. I don't know exactly how many years back, because humans are formed millions of years back, and that other organisms are formed billions of years back. So when it entered, again a discussion. It's a forum of this. It's under the platform of a discussions, not a clarity. There is no proper clarity on the part whether it is universally correct, whether it is holding only good in human beings, whether it holds good even in cybertooths or maybe in mammoths. So all those issues are there. And the polarity. Polarity means the movement. whether it reads from 5 prime to 3 prime end or 3 prime to 5 prime ends, and it says the correct format is 5 prime to 3 prime end, because if you look at any polarity, it should, most of the reading is from 5 prime to 3 prime end. And if you read from 3 prime to 5 prime end, the problem is it will go in ulta, I mean the reverse format. So amino acid will also change, protein will also change. Instead of insulin, it may produce something else. So those protein cannot work like insulin. So that problem will exist. So the polarity is also important. So triplet nature, they say, and there is evidences and proofs for that. And they say non-overlapping. They do some mathematical modeling and tell us. And the simple maths, what you call format, they write it. Then comma less, the non-ambiguity, degeneracy, universality, polarity. So all these characteristics we will study one by one and a very simple explanations. So triplet nature. So what we tell is, if a codon is only, that means the the nucleotide sequence what we call A, T, G, C. If it is in RNA, A, U, G, C, A, U, G, C. If it is singlet, that means 20 amino acid coded by possibility sampling, and then doublet codes, which is not sufficient to code for 20 amino acids, that we can find. And you can look at here in the box I have put, if it is 2 bases, that means 4 into 2, 16 combinations are possible. 4 bases, A, U, G, C. If it is a doublet, singlet means only 4. 4 is not sufficient to code for 20. So if it is doublet means it is 4 into 4, so it is 16. 16 combinations also, I don't think so it is sufficient, because as non-ambiguity says, so that clearly clarifies what is 16, why 16 is not possible. So that I'll tell during when I explain non-ambiguity. And 4 base model, that means 4 into 4, 256. That is too much. Too much trafficking will happen if you start considering 256. And then they thought 3 base model. Is a 2 base model, 4 into 4. 4 base model, 4 into 4 into 4 into 4. Then they thought 3 base model, that is 4 into 4 into 4. Triplet of 4, that means 64 combinations. So 64 combinations they thought ideal, because 20 into 3 it is 60. So there are possibilities, maximum possibilities are 64 combinations. So they decided 64 combinations. Later they proved with the help of in next class I'll tell you how they deciphered genetic code.
Sir,
yeah, pardon?
We cannot see the slides, sir.
You cannot see my slides, sorry. You cannot see my slides?
No, sir.
I thought you can see my slides. I'm sorry. That I'll share my slides now. So okay. There are some. Yeah, now you can see.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes,
no one, sorry. So yes. I thought something went wrong. Maybe some internet issues happened suddenly. So I hope. Yeah, first thing is here. I hope you can see in the picture, in the box. You can see something, right? There are 2 base and 4 base and 3 base codes. If it is 4 means 16 combinations. 4 means 4 into 4, 256 possibilities. 3 means 4 into 4, 64 combinations. This is the simple thing what I'm telling. Singlet means not sufficient. 4 means 20 is less, too less. Doublet means 16, it is almost near but not sufficient. But 4 means 256, too much. But 3 is sufficient. 4 into 4 into 4, 64 combinations. That is much more. I mean, it's a sufficient number to code for 20 amino acids. But today, again, there is lots of questions with regards to this. But it holds good. And lots of experiments they have done, they prove it. So that I'll tell you later when we decipher the genetic. Here I have given the list. What is the possibilities? So first letter, a second letter, and third letter combinations they have done. All these combinations possibilities. So if it is UUU, it is phenylalanine. CUU, it is leucine. If it is AUU, it is AUA, it is methionine. That's the possibilities they have done. UCAG they have done. UCAG they have done. UCAG. That means you can arrange it in 3-way format, and you can put it in like maximum possibilities for each amino acid. That's what they've done. This is not important for us, but I've told that the 4 bases of 4 into 3 possibilities they have done. 4 into 3 possibilities, and they decoded all the possibilities for 20 amino acids. They found it is sufficient. So then we will go for the next. So what is the next character? First one is triplet nature. 3 bases are there which will code for one amino acids. So next is a code is non-overlapping. That means written in a continuous format. AUG, CAU, GCAU, like that it is AU, GCAU, GCAU, like that it is continuous. In the first A format, if a message is reading in an overlapping triplet code, then it should be AUG, UGC, GCA, CAU. That means one is overlapping another. That is not true. When they have analyzed further, decipher further, it is not true. That I will explain during a deciphering genetic code. First, I thought of to give me some kind of insights into what is a genetic code and what is the characters. Then you can understand deciphering is a better way or in a better format. So, but if it is in a non-overlapping format, it is correct. AUG, CAU, GCA, UGC, because they proved it. It is correct if it is non-overlapping. If it is overlapping, it is not correct. I hope you got the idea. Non-overlapping means it is not sitting one over the another. It is sitting in a continuous format. And you reading frame is in continuous format. You cannot read it like AUG, UGC. You can read it like AUG, CAU. I hope you are getting. AUG, UGC is not correct, but it is AUG, CAU is the correct format. So next is there is no punctuation mark. That means it's comma-less. We call it's comma-less or no punctuation mark. That means it is continuous. AUG, CAU, GCA, UGC. You can see your sequence, right? So if it is one first reading format, it should be AUG, then CAU, then GCA, then UGC. That's a one format I'm telling. If a second format also, AU you take, then UGC, AUG, CAU. Any format you take, or in the message 3, reading frame 3 also, any possibilities you take, it is in the continuous. There is no punctuation. That means you are not leaving one nucleotide and reading the next. You are reading everything in a continuous form. So it is a comma-less. That's why it is called comma-less. So first characteristic is it's in triplet nature. The second thing is it is non-overlapping. You have to read it. Third thing is it is comma-less. There is no gap. There is no gap. There is no punctuation mark. We are not leaving. That means when you read AUG and CAU, you are not leaving C and reading AUG, AUG. I hope you are getting. You are not leaving C and reading AUG, AUG. Instead of that, what you are doing is you are reading AUG, CAU, then GCA, then UGC. You are reading that. So it is a continuous, comma-less, triplet, and it is non-overlapping. So next factor is non-ambiguity. Non-ambiguity is also very important thing. So non-ambiguous code means there is no ambiguity about a particular codon. So ambiguity means a kind of confusions about a particular codon. A particular codon will code for the same amino acid. If AUG is coding for methionine means it will code for methionine. I've taken one example. If AUG is coding for methionine means it will code only for methionine. So non-ambiguity code means there is no ambiguity about particular codon, and a particular codon will always code for the same amino acid. While the same amino acid can be coded by more than one codon. So that means a degeneracy that I'll explain you later. One amino acid can be coded by more than one codon, but the same codon shall not code for 2 or more different amino acids. That's what the non-ambiguity. That means one codon will not code for more than one amino acid. One codon will not code for more than one amino acid. Is called non-ambiguity. That means there is no confusion. The role of one codon is specified. AUG means methionine. But methionine can be coded by more codons. That's what you call degeneracy. So I hope the first thing, triplet nature is clear. Next thing is non-overlapping is clear. There is no punctuation mark, and the last thing is a non-ambiguous. A particular codon will code for the same amino acid. So non-ambiguity is also clear. So next factor, important thing we should think about is code is a degeneracy. So this is little more important. I'll give little more emphasis to this. So there is one more concept will come over here that is called Ubel hypothesis. So degeneracy and Ubel hypothesis are linked one. So Ubel hypothesis I thought of explaining next class today anyhow to have a chemistry seminar and all. So next class, I'll explain you what is Hubel hypothesis and all those things. So the code is degenerate, which means that the same amino acid is coded by more than one base triplet. That means methionine coded can be coded by AUG, and it can also be coded by other codes also. Degeneracy does not imply lack of specificity in protein synthesis. That's the important thing. It doesn't mean that there is no specificity in protein synthesis. It merely means that a particular amino acid can be directed to its place in the peptide chain by more than one base triplet. For example, 3 amino acids, arginine, alanine, leucine, each have 6 synonymous codons. And this degeneracy can be partial or complete. The partial degeneracy is important, interesting thing I am telling you. First 2 nucleotides are identical, and third base is not so important. For example, CUU and CUC code for leucine. Why I'm telling this is CUC and CUU and CUC. First 2 bases are same, CU, but it code for leucine. But you see the third base, U and C, right? U and C. That's why, but it codes for same amino acid. That's why the partial degeneracy or Hubel hypothesis says first 2 bases are important, but the third base is not so important in deciding which amino acid should sit in that position. Sitting position of amino acid is fixed by first 2 sequences of the code, not the third one. That's why it plays a very significant role in during mutations. We are all worried about mutations, right? A mutation can cause lots of problem in us. But if mutations have happened in the third base pair, I'm telling you, is replaced with C, but it will code for leucine, so no issues. That's why the mutation in the third nucleotide is not so important, or may not have a significant, or else what we call magnified, or else what you can call a very high-end effect on the protein. But if it is happened in the C or on the first base or the second base, which will have a profound effect on the what we call the expression. So third base mutation is not so important in the evolution, history of evolution, if you look at. That has not made too much impact on the evolutionary history of any human beings or maybe a bacteria or fungus. But the first 2 bases made lots of impact, even in the case of cancer and other things. But a complete degeneracy concept will come. So that means UCU, UCC, UCA, UCG, all code for serine. UCU, UCC, UCA, UCG, all will code for. That means a complete degeneracy occurs when any of the 4 bases can take part third position and still code for the same amino acids. So both the possibilities are there, partial degeneracy or complete degeneracy. The final thing you should remember is one amino acid, there are more codons. And you should remember one codon will code for one amino acid. That is non-ambiguity. And each amino acid is specified by a 3 base pair, that is called triplet. And that triplet is continuous, that triplet is non-overlapping. So we have studied still that the codons are triplet, codons are non-overlapping, codons are non-ambiguous, codons are degenerate, shows a property of degeneracy, and it is formalness. So this much things we have studied now. Next, there is an issue. Genetic code is nearly universal. It is not universal. We thought that, initially they thought that genetic code is same in all organs. Within the organism also it is same. But when they analyzed, they found within the organism itself is not correct. If you look at here, in this chart you can see, it is not universal, but it is, you can put it in a simple term, it is nearly universal. Almost same in all organisms, but it is not same. We call it like in enzymology. All enzymes are made up, all enzymes are made up of protein, but all proteins are not enzymes. But even though when we tell like that, all enzymes are not proteins, but there are enzymes which are called as RNA too. So that's why those phenomenon or the what you call proverb earlier we were using is not true in the present scenario, because a lots of research are happened, lots of technologies are used, lots of analysis they have done, lots of predictions they have done. Computational biology is grown up to a such extent that we can do any biological modulations in computers. So you look at here, UGA is commonly a stop codons. But if you take mitochondria is an organelle which is found inside the cell. In the cell, normal cell, it is a stop. UGA is a codes for stop, but in mitochondria, it codes for tryptophan. Just to see the magnificent extent of difference. Within the cell itself, there is a variation. A normal cellular nuclear gene will code for stop. That means it will tell the process to stop. But in mitochondria, it codes for one amino acid called tryptophan. Such a variation, sir. That's why it is called nearly universal. You can see here, there is a code called AUA, which will code for isoleucine. I hope you are familiar with 20 amino acids. So ILE means isoleucine in normal nuclear gene, but in mitochondrial gene, it codes for methionine. Same thing like that. AGG, which will code for ARG, that means arginine in normal nuclear gene, but AGG will code as a stop codons. That means it will give a signal to stop the process in mitochondria. So that is the variations. That is the variation you should concentrate or you should start thinking. That means what is right to the cell is not right to the organelle. What is right to the organelle is not right to the cell. So that's why the mitochondria is different. Mitochondria is having such an importance in the cellular system. That's why the mitochondria is creating a micro environment inside the cellular system. Cell is a one system. Inside the cell, mitochondria is making another system. So that's why people are suspecting that mitochondria is not our own system. I mean, it is not humankind. It is not a human thing. It came from somewhere else. Because our nuclear genome is telling one thing, and this mitochondria is an organelle which is not obeying the rule of a nuclear genome system. I mean the nuclear genome signal. It is following its own pattern. That's why people are suspecting that this might have entered somewhere in the cell, I mean somewhere in the evolution, 1 billion year, or maybe you check 1 millions of year evolution, you see this mitochondria is some organism which might have entered, and that's why it is behaving in a very odd pattern compared to our genome. Our genome is specifically evolved, but mitochondria is another microenvironment. It is another micro gene which is telling a very ambiguous nature. You can see there. Lots of ambiguity. You can see the genome of human and genome of mitochondria. But one important thing you should remember: the mitochondria is not paternal thing; it's a maternal thing. Mitochondria is not paternal thing; it is a maternal thing. So whatever thing we do with mitochondria, we are tracing our maternal history. So that's a big problem. See, whatever today you take one mitochondria from next generation, you analyze it, you can see matriarchal history. That means from mother side you can see, but you don't know father side. That means the parent, two genes are combined and form the next generations. But during that entire thing, the egg is from a mother, so the mitochondria is from the mother. The father, only the gene, that is the paternal gene, will come. So if you want to analyze evolution also, there is ambiguity, because the mitochondria is only from a mother. So what we today, you see our common mother is a Lucy. So you analyze mitochondria and say something, and mitochondria behave in a weird way, and what we predicting may not be true. May be true for some extent, may not be true for some extent also. That's why the codon is called as a nearly universal, not completely universal. And lots of confusions are there. Still, it is there with regards to mitochondrial genome is considered, and that's why the mitochondrial is lots of studies they have done on mitochondria. If you want, you can you just put it mitochondrial studies in Google. You can find out n number of articles related to mitochondria. One is related to evolution, one is related to production of energy, one is related to this codon and other things. And that's why it is behaving in a very weird way. And that weird way is helping us to survive too. That's also important. So that weird way of synthesis is helping us to survive, because mitochondria is considered powerhouse of the, I mean, it's an important system where our ATP is generated. That might be the reason it is behaving. Lots of linking you can, lots of thinking process you can do it in case of mitochondria. But you cannot do it same thing in our nuclear genome, because nuclear genome is safe. It is almost universal. In human beings, I'm telling, it is almost universal. Then we cannot think of too much changes. Then we'll think about polarity. So each triplet code is reads in a polarity, means 5' to 3' direction. And the beginning base is 5', followed by the base in the middle, then the last base 3'. So this implies the codon have a fixed polarity. And if the codon read in the reverse direction, the base sequence of the codon would reverse and would specify two different proteins. That means, if you just imagine your pattern from 5' to 3' it is AUG. That will code for methionine. If you put it in the GUA, that means reverse pattern, AUG, if you turn back, I mean, you put it as a mirror image, that is GUA, then it will code for different amino acids. That's why this polarity is also important. The fixed polarity will be there. Each triplet codon will read in a fixed polarity from 5' to 3' direction. That is a magnificent thing you can see in the evolutions. So reading is perfect from 5' to 3' direction. So our proteins are fixed. Today, one gene will code for a hemoglobin. Next day also the gene will code for hemoglobin. Third day also it codes for hemoglobin, and in the entire lifetime it codes for hemoglobin. If any changes happens in the polarity, it may code for myoglobin. Then in our body, myoglobin may be there, hemoglobin won't be there. I'm just taking as an example. Hemoglobin won't be there, myoglobin will be there. Because myoglobin will work in muscle, hemoglobin work in blood. So there won't be a sufficient protein in the blood. So person will become anemic and vital organs will lose the oxygen level and the person may die also. And we cannot survive here. So that polarity is so important in maintaining homeostasis in the human being. So when we talk about this thing, there are two more important things I will talk to you. That's one is stop and start. So when we talk about the codons, there should be a starting signal. There should be a end signal for each process. That means what you call as translation. So universally, there are three codons which is called as a stop codon. So one is UAA, second one is UAG, and third one is UCA. So all these things do not code for any amino acid. Till the day we believe that these are the stop codons, and they act as a stop signals in protein synthesis. And these three codons are collectively known as terminator codons. And codons UAC, UAA, UCA are often referred to as amber, ochre, and opal. You please remember this name. UAC means amber, UAA means ochre, and UCA means opal. So you can study a little more about, if you want, you just put it why it is called as amber, ochre, and opal, all those things, UAC, UAA, UCA. Because in most of the competitive exams, they last. They may give UAA and they may give amber, ochre, opal, and something else. Then you have to mention UAA means ochre. So like a stop codons, UAA, UAG, UCA is the stop codons in the normal nuclear genome, I could say. But AUG is a commonly initiation codon, and GUG is also. AUG and GUG are considered as initiator codons, are the starting codons. Starting codons are essential to start the process of translation. Stop codons are essential to stop the process of protein synthesis. So we have studied three more things. Today, important things. What are codons? That means our genetic code. Codons are a sequence of nucleotides which set a rules which will decide what is the sequence of amino acid in the protein. So then we studied the characteristics. We thought that codons are triplet, codons are degenerate, codons are specific. There is a stop codons, there is a start codons. They are non-ambiguous, they are comma-less, they are non-overlapping. All those things we have studied today. I hope you have understood what is genetic code means and what is the characteristics